Good afternoon, children. Welcome to our geography class. I expect that you all had gone through our previous videos and you have understood it very well. And I had given notes also in my previous video. So kindly take it down. I expect that your notebooks are getting ready to be submitted once the school reopens. So in my previous class, we had done that why resource planning is necessary in India, and the three most important points that I had discussed was to develop the different resources which are widely distributed in our country, and secondly, not only to develop, we also have to distribute the resources in those regions where they are lacking, and thirdly, to have a balanced regional development in the country. Now, the next part of the chapter is steps in resource planning in India. Now, resource planning in India involves three basic steps. The first step is identification of the resources in different parts of the country. Like some parts are having very good mineral resources. So we have to find out how much mineral is there, what is the quantity of mineral, how many years it is going to serve us if we start digging the mines and taking out the minerals, or suppose any area is having some perennial river. So then we have to find out that what is the source of that river, whether that river will flow continuously and continue to provide us with water and hydel energy if a dam is constructed, whether the construction of dam will be economic or not, or are there any chances that in case of climate change that river will dry up or not. So the first step is identification and inventory of resources throughout the country, and that is done through proper surveying, mapping, quantitative as well as the qualitative. That is, we have to find out the quality as well as quantity of that particular resource. Now, the second step is we have to have such a planning strategy to develop that resource, and that must be backed up with proper technology, skill and institution. Like suppose we have found out that a particular area is having certain resource and it is going to serve our country for a huge length of time. Now we have to develop an organization, like for example for developing our coal resources we have Coal India Limited, for oil and gas we have ONGC, for this gas resources we have GAIL, that is Gas Authority of India Limited, which looks after the distribution of gas throughout the country and this construction or laying down of pipelines throughout the country so that the gas is supplied. So there must be an organization, and that organization has to carry on research and develop proper technology, and that technology development is possible only if the manpower is properly skilled. So the human resource here is very important. We have to take into use the manpower of our country who are skilled, who are properly trained, and for that we need the help of certain research institutes. We need organizations to manage the work. So like we have IIMs in our country, different financial organizations are there, will look after the financing. So the planning should be such that it must be backed up with proper skill, technology and institution. So that is very important for developing any resource. The third step in resource planning is matching the resource development plan with overall national development plans. Now, what is the aim of the government? The aim of the government is to develop the resource so that it brings economic prosperity in the country. Now suppose we are developing any resource and that can bring damage to the economy, then that is not done. So we have to develop the resource in such a way that economic prosperity is the result. It must not bring losses to the country. It must not bring bad name to the country, or it must not overuse other resources of the country and bring poverty. So always the resource development plan must match with the national development plans. Now, how do our country do it? Now, since 1951, India has set up one body which is known as Planning Commission, and that Planning Commission prepares plan. It prepared plans, and the plans were mainly designed for 5 years, and with the help of these 5-year plans we progressed and tried to develop the resources of the country and achieve the targets that has been planned. Like there were several 5-year plans, there were several annual plans, and through these plans we have developed the different parts of the country. We have developed different resources of the country. Now the Planning Commission has already completed its 12th plan, and this Planning Commission now no longer makes plans. We have an organization which has been set up by our current Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and it is the Niti Aayog, that is National Institute for Transformation of India, and this looks after the development of resource in the country. Now every plan had different target. Like in the beginning, when our country got independence, there was a huge lot of people who had moved across the border, and the country had to provide food to these people. So in the first 5-year plan, agriculture got the priority. In the second 5-year plan, the government felt it was necessary to develop industry, so industries got priority. So in this way, in different plans, there were different planning. Like in some there was poverty alleviation, in some protection of the environment, sustainable growth of the country, improving GDP of the country, education of the universalization of the education sector of the country. So in this way, children, we had progressed mainly with the help of the plans. And in between there were annual plans, and this annual plans also looked after the development of resources, achieving the target, and after the period was over, it was it was reviewed how much has been achieved and how much is left to be achieved. So planning is very necessary in our country, and through this Planning Commission, efforts of Planning Commission, we have progressed in the country. Different resources has been tapped and developed. Now, the main issue, children, is that our country had always resources. We had resources in the past also, but we did not know how to develop this resource. So the most basic thing in resource development is also to have technology, and along with the technology, the human beings of the country must be empowered, must be skilled and properly trained to develop that resource and use that resource. And we all have to change with the passage of time. We cannot remain backward, otherwise we will lag behind. We will remain economically underdeveloped. For the development of our country, we have to develop as a whole through education, through proper use of technology. So that is very vital for the development of any country. Now, India is basically a rich country, and that is supported since a long time back. In the past also we have seen that different rulers, they had invaded India only because of the richness of the country. Like we had this Muhammad Ghazni who looted our Somnath temple 17 times. He came to India, he looted our country, he went back. Some came here, they settled our country and contributed in different ways for the development of the country. Now, when the Europeans, they saw our resources, they got attracted to our country. Now, the European countries are very small in size. They knew very well that if they started exploiting their own resources, they will finish very fast and they will become poor because their resources will be over and they will have nothing left for them. So they went in search of countries which are having resources, and for that they needed technology. So they developed their naval power, became very strong as a naval power, developed their technology because industrial revolution took place very long back, like when we were fighting our first war of independence in 1857. At that time the British were laying down their railway track for the metro railways, that is underground railways. So just imagine how advanced they were. So they came to our country only because they were attracted by the richness of the country, and they settled mainly at the ports because they knew it very well that if the natives of India, they join hands, so they will be driven away. And so at the beginning they came as traders in the Jahangir's court. They just came with the appeal to start trading. They didn't came with the view that they will set up their empire here. So they came as traders, and they were followed by other countries also who were equally attracted towards the wealth of India. And they started exploiting our resources. First they studied the internal condition of the country, and then they started exploiting our resources and taking away our resources. It's well known to everyone that they made us poor and made themselves richer. They exploited every sector of the economy. Yes, I also agree that they had constructed roads, they had built bridges in some parts of the country. They had developed some parts, but only those parts which were serving their interest. They did not develop the interior of the country. So the presence of resource is very important, no doubt, but if the resource is there and there is no technology, no skilled manpower to handle them, then the resources are useless. In South Africa also, when the resources, mineral resources were discovered, at that time different countries, European countries, went there in huge number in order to own those mineral mines, only because they had technology. So technology and skilled human resources are very much important for the development of resources. Now children, let us summarize what we studied today. First, we studied stages in resource planning. So the first step is identification of resource and preparing a list of it. This involves surveying, mapping, finding out the quality of resource and also the quantity available. The second step is to develop a proper planning strategy to utilize the resource. This involves the use of technology, skill and institutional setup. Now, the third stage is matching the resource development plans with overall national development plans. Why? So that it brings national economic prosperity and development. Now, India achieved this through implementation of 5-year and annual plans. Plans are developed, executed and monitored by the Planning Commission, and from 1951 this Planning Commission was present till 2017. Now after this came an organization or a body known as Niti Aayog, which this Niti Aayog stands for National Institution for Transforming India, and it was set up by our present Prime Minister Sri Narendra Modi. India has completed its 12th plan in March 2017. Okay children, thank you. Please take this down for your notes and I will post your homework. Children, in your homework, I have given you 5 questions. The first question is, mention the 3 stages of resource planning. The second is, how is India trying to achieve the goals of resource planning? Third, what is basically required for development of resource? Fourth, why did India lag behind in spite of having resources? Fifth, mention any economically backward state or area and another economically advanced state. This last question you will read from the chapter and use your IQ or general knowledge, and you will write the answer of the last one.